now live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real World News TV, live on Facebook. You had one of your co-hosts, Reggie Kearney, along tonight. We have my other co-host, Sherry-Ann Tappett, and we had the boss lady here with us tonight, too. Tony B. all the way from Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. How you doing, Tony?
I'm a sinner.
How y'all doing this evening?
Doing good.
Good.
I'm Tuesday. That's how I am. That sums it all up. I'm Tuesday.
So what's the topic?
Tonight's topic is what happened to the dream. As you all know, we're in the midst of coming out of the 50th year anniversary of the death of Dr. Martin Luther King, and still a lot of questions are up in the air about what happened to the dream. We just had so much discussion about this. We just thought we'd just, discuss it for a while tonight. Remembering his speech where he stated, "Have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of this creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." I don't know. He spoke it. But in the time we live in, that sounds like a bunch of bull. I mean, be honest, being honest, because this country is such an upheaval. Sometimes you really wonder if all men, women, children are created equal.
Well, are they?
No.
Are they?
We all bleed red. God has created us all equal. But
but others say other.
Yeah.
Okay, so
O positive, O negative. We all bleed red, But when you look at society as a whole today, it's different. It doesn't matter what color your blood is. It's all about the color of your skin and the actions that take place around you each day.
Very, very true. Before we get a little further into that, I'd like to recognize our sponsors here for the Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. Real World News TV and the Hot Topics Talk Radio Network is sponsored by Shades of Africa in 2 locations, in the city of Long Beach and in the city of Corona. Also sponsored by SPMG Media. Thank you, Ms. Gina Smith, who happens to also be our publicist. Also, I want to thank Mr. Reggie Kearney, who is the editor-in-chief of the Urban Sentinel. You guys got to check him out. See, this handsome man, he does it all. And also, we're going to be recognizing Miss Stephanie Warren Jenkins of FES Protection Plan. She has been doing some great things with helping people to repair their credit and get back on a solid credit standing. So for more information regarding all of our sponsors, head on over to our website at hottopictalkradio.com/sponsors. Also, make sure that you check out the hosts of this show, get to know who is coming in and speaking to you every Tuesday night. So, Reggie, I'm going to give it back to you and Jera, and I'll just sit here and look stupid.
Look pretty. Looking pretty.
We want your comments also, Tony. So, Sherry, what are your thoughts?
Oh, they're always pregnant and ripe, full of opinions. In terms of where did our dream go, Tony and I were talking about this a little bit before the show started. Our dream went to distraction. I was reading a book recently, and they were talking about, obviously it was a sci-fi thriller, and they were talking about this old government program called MK Ultra, where first they were trying to, trying to remake people or hypnotize them in some way. And then they realized that it was easier to manipulate them with subliminal messaging and whatnot. And, all of that may or may not be true. I don't know. But when you look at the number of distractions that we have in this country, and, there was a time when we fought for our rights, women's rights, African-American citizens' rights, immigrant rights. We had a greater sense of community. We fought for each other. We went to schools and we supported the community. We fought on behalf of the community. Now we have a brain drain. People get their degrees and they leave their communities and they take that talent elsewhere. And the people left behind, their sense of accomplishment is not academic. It's not even really financial in the sense of investing and accruing money to secure your future. It's about the newest sneakers you can buy, the newest bling you can buy, the newest car you can have, the fattest chick you can have on your arm, and how many of them you can have. You know, it's this sense of immediate gratification without the work that is needed to earn it. And I think that we're all so distracted by, I'm going to get mine, that they've lost sense of what that prize really is. And that's, you know, academic and, you know, knowledge based and lifting themselves up. I think we're all just way too distracted. I remember in junior high school looking at people who were living below the poverty line but wearing $300 sneakers and then buying new ones when they got scuffed. And that's what was important to them. And, you know, I think you see a lot more of that now. You know, you may not see troop jackets, you know, parading down the street, but you'll see people wearing Prada and all of this other nonsense when they should be investing their money elsewhere, if not in the community, then in their financial future and their education. You know, I think that there are some families, some pockets of families throughout the country. You see it every day with some of ours getting free passes because of their academic accomplishments to some of the best schools in the country. And I think that's wonderful and that's amazing. And we need more of that. But we are way too distracted by material things, I think, to focus on what we need to be focusing on as a community.
I don't think so much as being material things. I think one of the things, okay, you know, let's take a step back. When you look at, well, I'm much older than you, Sharon, so I'm going to have to go back a little bit. I'm going to leave you here for a minute, okay?
Okay, just a skip.
Yeah, but when I look at what my parents did, especially my father worked his way through college, okay? He worked during the summer, you know, at hotels and things of that nature, you know, doing, you know, odd jobs that pay his way through college. You know, he looked at his parents and how they came up, looked at his grandparents as being slaves, then he looked at what his parents were going through, limited education. There was a big dream in the 30s and 40s and 50s of people in our community. Even before Dr. King came along, they had a dream to do better, okay? They had that dream because they didn't want to be where their parents were, okay? They didn't want to feel that challenge. They didn't want to work in the fields anymore. They wanted more. Even though when they came out in the 40s and 50s, most, you know, they could do with, you know, they could only teach in a segregated, you know, school or be a mortician or be a preacher. You know, those were only jobs in the community. They couldn't even be police officers. If they were police officers, they were police officers within the community. So they had a strong desire and a dream to do better, okay? And I think that spilled over into the 60s also and into the 70s, because I know during the summer of 73, 74, I don't know if you were even born yet, Sherry, and I think, Tony, you were born. I worked in a factory. I worked in a textile factory in North Carolina, okay? And I saw how those men who had been there for 25 years, and I think the minimum wage probably in 73, 72, 73 probably was about $2 and a quarter, $3 at the most. And they retired, they give them a gold watch, and that was it. And they get a little bit of security, and that was their investment into their retirement. I saw then, I said, look, I'm going to college. I'm going to make more money than these guys are making. I'm gone, okay? I had a dream. Then you come into the 80s and 90s, yeah, because of the fact the Civil Rights Bill was passed, the Voting Rights Bill was passed, we had more opportunities. The integration was forced into the schools, especially in the South in 68, started in 67, 68. Our whole thought pattern changed. And as you said, the sense of community was gone, okay? Because going into the late 70s and early 80s, you were able to live anywhere you wanted to live, even though they didn't want you there. You know, you can see larger cities, the black migration to the suburbs, you can see that. We were able to do that. And in that community, that loss of that community, I think, really hurt us, okay? Yes, we needed integration, or we needed something better so we could have better schools and better access to a great education. But when we lost that sense of community, I think things started falling apart. Drugs started infesting the neighborhoods. Drug dealers started infesting our neighborhoods. It was all about getting that quick money. The focus wasn't there anymore for students to say, look, I want to go to HBCU. I want to do better. Okay, because our choices, even when I was coming along, was limited. We could go to the white schools, but you were basically a token because they were trying to meet the guidelines of the federal government. So the majority of the people I went to high school with, we ended up going to HBCUs. I only know of 2 people out of my class that were African American that went to predominantly white colleges. So materialistic things came in, but I think too, the parents of the 70s and 80s didn't have the dream of doing better that my parents had or during the 40s and 50s.
Right. Yeah. And, I agree with you about the drug trade, but that just sort of goes full circle to trying to get mine as easy and quickly as possible rather than working hard to get it. That sense of pride and personal accomplishment. What is defined as personal accomplishment now directly correlates to how much bling you can afford to get yourself and how you get that money as quick as possible. But then you add to that the closing of our schools or the hiring of inept teachers. There is nothing that'll kill a child's soul quicker, I think, aside from abuse, than having an uninspired teacher. Then you're just wasting time for 6-8 hours at a day going to school and not really learning anything. So it's no wonder you have so many that drop out and don't finish, don't understand the value of understanding their history and where they come from and the history of this country and how it works. Tony, what do you think?
Oh, where do I begin? Jesus Christ. You guys have said a lot. But I think that it's my opinion that I think that there started becoming this fail when the drug traffic did start coming into the communities, into the Black communities. But then you have to also add the fact that the Black churches have started to fail at that same time, because you had Black churches who were actually a part of helping the drug traffic to come into the urban community. So I think it's a combination of all that has been the downfall of what we call the dream to the people that are in these communities. That is why we have the issues that we have today. We don't have what we call a dream anymore. People are just now hoping. That's all they're doing. They're hoping and they're wishing. It's not a dream anymore. Because you've got law enforcement who has now started to desecrate the dream. You've got Black people themselves who are desecrating the dream. And it's all having to do with what we have allowed into our communities, and into our homes. It has to do with the media, what we allow our children and our young people to watch on television. It has to do also with, Black preachers and our churches in a whole not taking part in the community as they did before. We were only using the Black churches at that time in the 40s and the 50s as meeting places, not only just to worship, but as meeting places so that we can come up with a plan to do better and to have a dream, to send our kids to school and have a decent education for them. So we've got all these different things that have been the cause and the downfall of what we call the dream. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to a certain extent. Now, when you say the churches fail, where are you coming from with that? The churches
okay,
fail?
What I mean by the churches have started to fail. Do you remember now? Chara is younger than we are. Okay. Do you remember how in church where we would have our church leaders in the community? Church leaders used to go into the community, and they would even allow the community to come into the churches when the community was not doing well by way of food, by way of shelter, by way of helping their community children go to school, providing them with, somewhat of what we call now as scholarships to send these kids to school. They had a hand in everything that was going on within the community. You don't find that anymore. What you do find is you find churches who will tell you, well, you haven't been a member long enough.
You
got to be a member for exactly. And they are clocking your ties. I'm glad you said that. So it all depends upon what you have done for the church and how long you've been with the church. before they'll say you are part of the church, which is a body of God, a body of Christ. That's asinine to me. That is a huge part of why we are in the pickle that we're in. We don't have the leaders, not even in the churches that we had anymore, because it's all depending upon how much money you have given. And all that money you've given, you've got some churches that are basically fallen to the ground and they have not replaced not so much as a doorknob.
But they're driving a Benz.
Exactly. And private planes. Okay. But you can't get today's leader of a church to come out into the community as they used to. What happened to, putting my faith in God and not being fearful of the things that are out there in that community, or the fear of man? What happened to that? Now you find ministers and pastors who say, oh, I'm not going into that community, but my church is there. It's a mega church, but I'm not going to find out who's in my community. Mm-hmm. That's been the downfall, the huge downfall of where the dream has gone.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the churches have played a role in diminishing the dream. As you say, if you would take all the churches collectively and have them all send us an accounting report on Monday morning, what they took in and what they deposited it on that Sunday, you would find it's going to probably be in the close to $1 billion. That's probably, well, no, I'll take that back. Probably close to $500 million, well, a little less, give or take. It's probably being deposited in the churches. I did have that figure at one time. I'm going to look it up again while we're here on the show. But there's so much money going into the banks that we don't take time to look at investing back into the community, because so many some mega churches have moved out to the suburbs. Some are still in the city. But what happens, the members are living in the suburbs. They come to the city on Sunday morning, they leave. You find smaller, struggling churches, and the majority of churches throughout America, 80% of them are churches with members 200 or less. They struggle through the community doing the soup kitchens and things of that nature, when it should be the larger churches pitching in to helping them, but it doesn't, because what's happening, you got your pastors and ministers on the bling bling, deal. They want to
bling bling status.
Yeah. And not really do what Jesus would do. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that preachers got to be broke and live a poor life, but they got to try to do something in the community. They got to try.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of them collecting those tithes. I mean, I remember I went to the church I grew up in, and it was a very simple church. It's torn down now. They made it into condominiums. But the last time I went in there, I was kind of saddened to see a lot of the sculptures had been gilded. Now, back in the day, they would have, gilded items in the church. That was sort of their savings, But, I don't understand the point of collecting money from the community and then not in turn investing in the community. What else are you using? Forget rent and operational costs. I get that. But what else are you using that money for? If you're collecting millions of dollars from a community, and many of those people are impoverished or lower middle class, they've got this sense of entitlement that just boggles the mind. They're not all good like Reggie.
Yeah, but you know what? And the thing is, and I'm just going to make this point, I'm going to shut up, okay? Because I have this thing with churches, and I'm not saying all churches are bad. I'm not saying that, because I grew up in the church. But over time, I have been able to call bullshit on some of them. Okay. And it's not because I have lessened my belief in Christ. I have lessened my belief in the men who serve or say they serve Christ. Okay. That's what I've lessened my belief in. But when we talk about the money that is going into the church out of the pockets of those who are in that community, who attend those churches every Sunday, whether it be a mega church or whether it be a smaller church. We know the smaller churches are, they're suffering. They are struggling to keep their doors going because it is somewhat of a business, right? But then you look at the mega churches, the larger churches that probably have over 300 members or more. And they will tell you that they give an accounting for the dollars or the tithes that come in. Even some of the revenue that is collected, even on a federal basis. But when is that information actually available for anyone to see?
Well, you have to. You can. We can request it from the church because churches, because they're nonprofits, have to
They're
file that.
nonprofit, right?
So they have to file. So we can request that from a church. Now, if you at a church where you can request the figures and find out what the books are, what's in the books, you need to leave that church. Okay, there's more going on than meets the eye. Any church that's being transparent is the church you need to be. Now, these figures are from as of 2012. Okay. Over the last 20 years, since 1980, 32 years, going into 2012, the Black church has collected more than $420 billion. Okay. That was as of 2012. So just think about what dreams could be fulfilled if the Black churches work collectively together.
Exactly.
That $420 dollars. And what it comes down to as of 2012, my figure was a little high. They bring it down from $1 billion. I came down to $500,000, but I'm still not far off. Comes down to $252.4 million per week. That's as of 2012. And let's move into now. If we move 2012, maybe 6 more years, we might be around the 350 mark, $350 million.
All the students that can be put through school.
Yeah,
exactly.
All the homeless families that need a place.
Where is the money going? Because
so that is the point I was trying to make.
Yeah,
that was the very point I was trying to make. We keep talking about, community. We talk about, fulfilling the dream that Dr. King had for us back in 1968, before he was assassinated. We talk about equality. How do we get back there? Well, the basis of it is where it started from. It starts with, what are the organizations within our own communities who are holding on to those dollars that the people in the community are giving to these churches? They're not who and what they say they are anymore.
It's like this.
And
It's
I
like
hate to say that.
It's like
But
the
it's
government
true.
with Social Security. They take our
It's
money
the
and then
same
threaten
thing.
to end it. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad you brought up Social Security, because when you look at the fact that we have paid into Social Security from the time we had started working, and they can automatically come in there and say, you know what, Chop, we don't want this shit anymore. You're going to have to fend for yourself and do the best you can. And, scuffle around and make you a few dollars on a part-time job just so you can buy your medication when you get to me and Reggie's age, right? And then they say, oh, we're going to take it away. But you've paid into it.
Mm-hmm.
You've paid into it. It's just like the churches. You keep tithing. You keep paying. And I know somebody's going to say, but you're tithing because the Bible says to tithe. But if I only have $2 coming in, or if I only have $2 at the end of my month, after I've paid everything that I'm supposed to pay, and I'm supposed to give you 10%, what do I do after that? And I come to you and I say, Pastor, church mother, I need food. I need you to help me with a bill. I can't keep my lights on. Or God forbid, one of my family members dies, and I need somewhere to have a going home service. And you tell me, oh, well, you haven't been there long enough.
And you make
give me my money back.
And you make a good point.
Thank you.
Before I validate your point, Tony, I just want to say, I think I was listening to Earthquake or somebody, and they were saying that every church has a building fund, but the doorknob is falling off and the lights are not changing because every church has a building fund. But when you come to Black churches hosting funerals for individuals that weren't members there, it's a hard road to travel, because I've had to reach out twice in my community to a white church to have funerals, because the Black churches said, well, they weren't here, or weren't members here. If we usually, the family gonna have to pay a fee. But I called a friend of mine. He's a white minister. He has 4 services on Sunday and 1 service on Saturday night. He was on vacation, okay?
Hmm.
He had a friend passed away. He was on vacation. I called him up on vacation. I didn't know he was on vacation, but I called him. I said, look, man, got a friend who passed away, wasn't a member of the church. I need a church. He said, call my secretary. He can work out the arrangement for you. Okay? How simple. Did a second funeral there, same thing. Call my secretary. She'll take care of it. Only request I want you to do for me is allow one of my ministers to participate in with a prayer or something, because he has an interracial staff. So I knew one of the ministers there, so I said, look, dude, I need for you to pray at both these funerals. No problem. No cost, no nothing.
How hard was that?
That right there, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but see, right there is where there is this separation of who is actually of Christ, who is of God, and who is not. Who is about that money that they can get each year, those tax cuts and all these other different things. That tells you a lot. And like I said, I grew up in the church. I have been, faith bound all my life. However, through time and through age and wisdom and able to discern certain situations now, I'm able to say, I don't trust every church, because every church is not there for me. They are not there for the community for that very reason. Because you know what? And I'm glad you said that, because when I think I was about, and this is where it started for me. I was maybe about 23, 24. And one of my neighbors, they lived on the block where my folks lived, where I grew up. And their little girl was killed. She was hit by one of the neighbors down the street who was driving drunk. He came barreling down the street. She stepped out from an ice cream truck and he killed her. Those folks have been a part of their community and a part of their church for 15 years. And do you know, not only did they want to charge for that funeral, but they told them they had to even think about charging and having that baby buried and that service held at that church, because they had not, or the baby was not baptized there. Who in the hell?
That makes no kind of sense to me. You should be
doesn't.
grateful people want to come to the church for a ceremony,
Exactly.
whether they're a member or not.
Because what are the
to
chances?
hear the word of God for some reason.
Exactly.
Whether they remember, it could be the first time in a church they chose to come there to have that ceremony. I mean, that should be sufficient.
But see, that's where it goes hand in hand for me when we talk about, where are we now with the dream? What happened to the dream? You've got so much breakdown into just our community alone. You can just say the people that are supposed to be the community leaders. There is a total breakdown. And nobody wants to say that. Because when we were talking about in the 50s and 60s, when we were, in the era of the civil rights, hell, we're still in civil rights right now. But when we were in the 50s and the 60s, that is where people gathered to come up with some sort of solutions to either protect their community, keep people from burning their homes down, beating them up in the streets. The pastors, the deacons, the mothers, all of these people were a part of the community to make sure that that community stood strong. There's nothing that keeps these communities standing strong as of today.
Let me ask you guys a question, though, and I want to ask this to you, Reggie, and to you, Tony, because, this is before my time. But if the movie,
So it was in our time?
It was, of course, it's our time. So, you've got the breakup of the family institution, right, with prisons for profit. They're taking our men, putting them in jail. And oddly enough, the foundation, the place where the civil rights movement started, where people would go, like you say, and congregate in these churches, the leaders were leaders of churches. Martin Luther King Sr., Martin Luther King Jr., and all the other folk. Even Malcolm X was a religious
Yes.
leader. Don't you find it a little suspect that over the last 20 or 30 years, there's been this sort of dissipation of true leadership in the church? I mean, if this were a book or a movie, it'd be highly suspect. I mean, you had CIA infiltrating the Black Panther and all of these other, communist groups and whatnot. I just also find it's not an organic development that they went from altruistic and community focused to greedy and not even of Christ. Like that wasn't an organic evolution. So I have to ask myself, like, how do you think that happened? Do you
Well, one reason it happened is because if you look at the churches now and the pastors, none of them live in a community. Back in the 60s and 70s and 40s and 50s, that pastor was part of that community, so he knew who was hurting, he knew who was sick, he knew who was dying, he knew who needed help. Okay, now the pastors come into the churches, but they might live in another county, they might live in another city. They don't live in that community where that church is anymore. So they might not even know the county politics because they might live in another county. Okay. So when something happens in that county or that city, they can't react to it because they're not part of that community. Okay. Like I said, I'm not against, preachers making money, but I think a lot of them, have taken advantage of the fact that this is a good job to have, a good gig to have. Like I always hear old pastors say, some are called, some just come. Okay. So you got some who just coming to be a pastor because they know the money is there, okay? They know they can make big bucks, okay? And the church is really not going to challenge them on those salaries and stuff. I remember my father, he had a church on first and third Sunday, he had one on second and fourth Sunday. And if he got $50 out of each church each Sunday, that was all he got. He depended on teaching as his primary source of income. But churches now, you got pastors making anywhere from, you got someone making up to $200,000 a year with expenses being paid. I know one pastor here in my area. He's a great preacher. He's a great leader. He's great everything. I don't have no problem with him. But he gets paid through love offerings. He has 5 services, 4 in the morning, one at 6 o'clock. So you think about a mega church where the pastor is getting a love offering for each service. How much cash going in his pocket? In which the IRS is coming down. Eventually the IRS is going to catch up with him. He's going to start taking a salary. But these are the things that the black church endorses, okay? And they don't mind endorsing. And so what has happened, because the pastor isn't part of the community, they're not there to encourage these kids or after school programs to help them find their dream, okay? Churches are basically open on Sunday, and that's it. They're not open to programs or having programs that can prepare these young people for the future.
I think it'd be their business to get familiar with the community that they're preaching to.
No, okay, look at New York City, okay? Prime example. Harlem is still pretty much African American, okay?
You haven't been to Harlem in a while.
Yeah, well, it's probably been about 4 years, but this is the thing. You still have some great churches like Ebenezer Baptist churches. You have great churches in the area.
Uh-oh.
Huh.
Oh.
They didn't like what he was saying.
I know. Come on back, Reggie Kearney. Hang on, Reggie. Hang on.
I just find it highly suspect.
Okay, so we got you back.
Yeah, so you gotta have people who live in the community to work these programs. Somebody who lives in the community, someone who's not going to drive in there because if they're tired after work, that program won't happen. Okay, so you've got to have someone that can drive in there.
Well, don't you think? Okay, even still, that would be the responsibility, and even I think that would be the responsibility of the pastor, the church leaders, to then get into that community and bring people in from the community and make them a part of that church, not just as a visitor and not just a member of the church.
Not just a wallet.
Exactly. Get them involved. Don't you think?
Okay. They scared to go out in the community themselves. They scared to go out there and talk to Mookie and the boys standing there in front of 7-Eleven. They scared themselves.
Well, then we have failed.
Yeah, we have. We are comfortable in the suburbs now, okay? That's just the bottom line, okay? To hell with the dream. The dream is gone. We're comfortable in the suburbs. Those kids can get by the best way they can, okay? You need to build the STEM programs. The churches could help build the STEM programs. They could create dreams for these young people by having these programs. You know, that, and look, I'm not saying you got to have a program Monday through Friday, but you could have a Tuesday night STEM program, because a lot of these churches have professionals in it. They have engineers, they have mathematicians, they have scientists in these churches. They could come in for 2 hours, 3 hours on a Tuesday night from 6 to 9 and work with these kids to get them involved with the STEM program. That's where the future lies, okay? Learning them how to code, things like that. We can help build a dream if we get involved. And that's where the downfall is. We're not getting involved. The church is not getting involved. So the dream is dying. And then you got the pink, the orange head, the turnip head, carrot head in the office now. That's even killing the dream, okay? And look, I'm going to be honest with you. Look, I don't have nothing with nobody trying to make a living, okay? But immigration to a certain extent has killed a dream also, okay? Because it's taken away a lot of jobs that we didn't want to work in the beginning, but then we want those jobs. It's taken a lot of jobs from us. It seems like everyone wants to come to the United States for their life, okay?
Well, I have to disagree with you a little bit on that, because if it's anybody's fault, it's not the immigrants. If it's anyone's fault, it's not the immigrants. It's the companies hiring them. It's the farms hiring them, because they know they can hire them at a lesser wage. It's them busing them in. If I were an immigrant, or if I needed to feed my family, who wouldn't take advantage of an opportunity to come here and work?
We've got to purchase that stuff, okay? We can't sit back.
The companies, not the immigrants.
But we still got it. We can't sit back and allow it to happen. Okay, here in D.C., a couple of years ago, they were working on the expressway in D.C., okay? This one company was hiring immigrants, okay? The black folks in that neighborhood in southeast D.C., they went out there one day and staged a boycott to make that guy start hiring some African Americans out there, okay? And it worked, okay? Sometimes we got to raise our voices. Sometimes we got to go down to Purdue Chicken on the eastern shore of Maryland and say, look, here we are in the community living. We want to come there and bring some chicken necks, okay? We want to cut up chicken, okay? We got to voice our opinion, okay? Now, we allow these immigrants, yes, they do. They come in there, they'll work 10 hours a day for $10, no benefits and nothing like this. But if the unions were as strong as they were at one time, they can go ahead and make a change of what's going on in the community and make these companies hire the people of the community. You got it, and I've been watching on the news this past week. You got a daggone caravan coming up through Mexico, and all them ladies and children, ladies talking, can't even speak no English. All they talking about is trying to get to America so they can have a better life for their kids, okay? And black folks ain't got no life in here in America right now. Okay, yeah, our mindset is screwed up. We got to get ourselves together, but we need to start voicing our opinion and pushing back on this country and say, you're going to hire us, you're going to pay us benefits, or we're going to shut you down.
Well, like you said, we have to get our shit together. I don't think we have any business. What was that, Tony?
I don't know.
I don't think we have any business being mad at the immigrants. I mean, one could say that they're victims in all of this too. We do have to be mad at the system that's allowing it, and it's the system that's allowing it. It's the farm lobbyists that are allowing it. It's the state governments that are allowing it. That's why whenever there's this anti-immigrant talk in the national government and on the executive level, I just have to roll my eyes, because if they really wanted to do something about it, they would heavily penalize the companies that are hiring them, the companies that are bringing them in. They're allowing it to happen. And I agree with you. We need to stand up and make our voices heard. But again, that whole divide and conquer thing, and we're going to focus on fighting the immigrants getting jobs. We're not going to focus on fighting the churches to help our kids get into schools or after school programs. We're not going to fight with the government over closing our schools and getting better teachers. They're dictating to us where our righteous indignation should be. And so that distracts us from addressing some of the other issues that would enable us to get the better jobs and not have to worry about ringing chicken heads, which is doing better in school. But, our youth is convinced that their future is either in sports or wrapping up gout bitches and hoes. that's like the most we can aspire to. So, I concede your point to some degree. I don't blame the immigrants because they're being taken advantage of. You're right. They don't get benefits. They don't have labor, weekends off, and they get treated horribly. They might as well be slaves with what they're getting paid, but it's better than what they were getting from when they were leaving, obviously. We do need to fight for ours, but we also need to fight on these other fronts so that we don't have to fight for those jobs.
Well, in the churches,
Yeah,
you can fight. You can fight in the churches by demanding that these pastors do better than what they're doing, or get a group of people and put the pastor's butt outside the door. Okay, and so I'm not going to buy that the churches because as a voice, you have a voice in your church. Okay, the pastor is just a hired person. The pastor is not even a member of the church. The pastor is paid help. Okay, all right. So you can hire and fire your paid help. Okay, you got to demand from the churches to be better than what they're doing. Okay, you just got to demand that, and we've got to
yeah,
fight more. Look, we weren't immigrants. Okay,
Sorry.
my grandparents weren't immigrants. Okay, they were born here as slaves. Okay, my foreparents, my great parents, great grandparents, and grandparents, they came as slaves. Okay, so was no immigration with us. Okay. No, so but we've got to go back to the days when we fought for what we wanted, and we did that.
Yeah.
And we did it with a
yeah,
passion,
yeah.
but the
It's
passion is gone.
yeah,
So many
yeah.
times people get mad at Farrakhan for what he's saying, but a lot of times Farrakhan making he making more sense
He's
about us.
speaking truth, but he's
He's
giving
saying
you
what he
truth.
got to say.
Yeah,
People don't
he's
like to
giving
hear
you
the
truth.
truth. He says it, tells it just like it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
But then as
because you
soon as
know what
somebody,
Sharon and I were talking about. Yeah, but you know what Sharon and I were talking about at the top, or before we actually went on, and my son showed me this clip, and it had Martin Luther King Jr. basically on Boondocks. I've never even
well, yeah,
watched
I
the
saw
show,
that. Yeah, I got that. I got that episode.
and okay, that's the one with Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
And I was telling Cherry, I said, I said when I watched that, it just reminded me of when I was writing the subject matter of the show, and it it was so compelling to watch it in a cartoon, but it made so much sense because I want to ask both of you because we're coming down to like 15 minutes left in the show. Hey, Jacqueline, that I want to ask you both. What do you think, Reggie Kearney, that Martin Luther King Jr. would say at this point as to all of the things that he had marched for, he died for? People who were part of this civil rights movement, what they died for, what they sacrificed. What do you think that they would be telling us and saying to us from the grave?
He would be disappointed. Okay.
Putting it mildly.
First thing he'd be disappointed is the young men walking around with the jeans hanging off the butt. Okay. He would be disappointed in the style of music. And I'm not. I don't have nothing against rap music. I love rap music. Okay. I mean, I had Snoop Dogg's first album. I enjoyed Snoop Dogg. Okay. I like Snoop Dogg.
I could
Okay.
just picture Reggie.
Hey, look, I love myself some hip hop. Okay, but
Mm,
he would tell them to clean it up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He would
Mm-hmm.
tell
Mm-hmm.
the guys in playing professional sports to be more active in their community, be activists. Okay. A lot of these players, 89, 95% of the NBA professional sport players are scared to say anything because they don't want to lose their endorsements. They don't want to go down like Colin Kaepernick, okay? They're scared. The only reason they ain't blackball LeBron James because if they blackball him, the NBA is gone, okay?
Mm.
So he's strong enough and bad enough to say what he wants to say, and they can't say nothing to him, okay? We have the tools, we have the money, but people are willing to participate because
Mm-hmm.
they feel like they've gotten their dream. Okay, that they got theirs. Hey, I'm sorry, little kid in the neighborhood. Go out and buy my little $300 sneakers. That's all you're gonna be able to do. Wear those, okay? But you're not gonna be where I am one day, okay? So I think in that sense, he'll be disappointed at the way politics is being played out now, things of that nature, okay? And
So
we
I have a follow up question. So how would you explain to Dr. King as to what is going on right now?
I wouldn't have any words. I'll be honest. I'll be too embarrassed. I mean. we fight so hard every day. I do my little part in the community, but I'm not always going to be here. Okay, young people aren't that concerned about what's going on in the world anymore. They accept things as they are. I was listening to the news tonight. They were talking about how young people really don't care what's going on at Facebook about their privacy and everything. It's the older people. We're the ones that are really concerned.
Well,
You
young
know,
people don't
They
feel
don't
that they're going
understand
to
what it
live.
means.
They're going to
but they
live in the
understand what
next
it
five
means,
years.
but they into so much other social media that one Facebook ain't gonna stop them. They can go Snapchat, WhoChat, and whatever chat to get that message out. We as older people, because we can't do nothing more but Facebook, we are concerned about our privacy because we've built so much up over the years. Okay, so I mean, my thing would be, Dr. King, have us get off our bus and be activists again.
I don't even know if they would hear him now. I mean,
Yeah, we would.
the first thing my brain said after Tony asked that question is that
Mhm.
he might have to channel his inner Tony and tell everybody, "I'm going to do it, Tony. Wake the
Like
fuck
on
up.
the right,
Wake
but
the fuck
like
up."
on that
Boondocks.
boondock.
He did
Yeah,
that on the
He
Boondocks.
did.
yeah.
Because it was like when he finally was able to say something and get past all of the twerking and the loud music and them acting fools, he had to almost go to profanity to get their attention. And then
Yeah.
when he did, that
They were
is when
shocked.
yeah, everyone's like, well, did he say that?
Mhm.
And when he decided to use the word nigger, that's when they were like, what? It got their attention.
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask you this question, Jared.
Mhm.
So if that Boondock episode was real, if it were real, would you be shocked at Dr. Martin Luther King calling black folks niggers today?
Unfortunately, and I cringe a little bit answering this, but I'm going to say no. Because in his mind, look at them acting that way, acting out like that, in his mind, that may be what they've become. The very thing he was fighting against. There was no pride in that room, even though it was an animated cartoon. We see it
Right.
every day in the videos of girls twerking and who can do it the biggest and the baddest and the fastest and all of that. You know, women are back to being just objects of sexuality, and you know, men are turning into thugs. I mean, they've all become what he fought against them becoming, aside from us getting rights and everything. Where's the sense of pride, cultural pride, individual pride, anything like that? But I don't think it would take him long to figure out how we got here. As you say, looking at our media, looking at our TV, looking at the quality of our education, looking at how history books are being rewritten, everything about us is being minimized. And then when he saw his peers in these churches, he'd be disgusted.
So, what would you tell him, Jara, as part of what could be the possible solution?
Yeah, I almost think that he would have a bigger battle now in trying to get our community joined than he did then. I would join him in the fight, but you know, it's hard enough inspiring myself sometimes to fight against this tide. Just for him to come here now and see his hard work basically undone. Not to mention the fact what, you know, 45 is doing and what, you know, people of his ilk are trying to do with dismantling the Civil Rights Act of 1964. All his hard work was for nothing. He would expect that by now we would have obtained the dream. And we are so far from it at our own hands, putting aside what the government is doing to tie our hands at every turn with, you know, the police brutality and the prisons for profit and the municipalities being inspired to criminalize activity in order to fill the beds in those prisons for profit. There's so many things stacked against us, and unfortunately, members of our own community are not helping themselves. And I don't know what percentage of the community. It's hard to make that assessment when the media is only showing us predominantly one face. We see a lot of people doing well in Morehouse and Howard. You just don't see a lot of that on the media. And then when you do, they call them obnoxious for succeeding as well as they did. But we're not helping ourselves as a community to fight back the narrative and the perception of who we are and what we're capable of. And I think
So,
that he would be despondent at that.
yeah. Yeah, because Jackie said he would be turning over in his grave, unfortunately. And I have to agree with him. I have to agree with her. So, Reggie, I guess I'm acting like this is my show. This ain't my show.
You know,
So, what do you tell our Black leaders in the community right now, Mr. Kearney? What do you tell them that is going to happen to get back on track of what Dr. Martin Luther King had put in place? He set us at he gave us a road.
mm-hmm,
And even he had realized he wasn't going to be there
mm-hmm.
to help us move forward. So, what do you tell Black leaders now, whether they're in the community, whether they're in the political status, or if they are in the church, leading our churches, and even just Black men? What do you tell them? Where do we turn right now to get back on track to what we call the dream?
Just get off your, you know what, and get it done. Okay, stop.
Ass.
Yeah, okay, thank you. But and stop being greedy. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
stop being greedy. You look at P Diddy and Jay Z; they're the two highest paid hip hop mongols in the world. Okay, and what do? They don't even push being activists. All they worried about is the dollar, and that's where the problem is. People who have it. And Oprah is the only one that really steps out, and Tyler does. But the others, they all got to come together collectively and make this change. Okay? They're scared of losing money, scared of RAS and all that kind of stuff. Okay? It's the greed that has gotten the so called activists. Okay?
Yeah.
Like we said on the last show last week, love Brother Al. But hey, he got that show on MSNBC at 8 o'clock on every Sunday that's paying him a handsome salary. Okay? He can't. Well, like Jacqueline said, where are the Black leaders that got to find them first? And she's right. She's right. Like I always said, they are so quiet on what Orange Head is doing. Okay.
But you know what? Let me say this though. I'm going to add to this because I think that, and I thought about this yesterday. It was just a random thought. And I'm glad that Jacqueline said that. Where are Black leaders? And you have to go find them first. Your Black leaders are actually in your community. They don't have to be on MSNBC. They don't have to be on CNN. They don't have to be the leaders of their church. Our Black leaders are right in our communities. I think that if we start tasking our Black leaders in our community, which are fathers who go and take their children to baseball and football practice, who are there leading the team and leading the charge to get their little trophy at the end of the season. That's a leader. You've got someone who opens up the corner store every morning and keeps his business going, and he is selling and being a part of the community. He is a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie Kearney, you have a newspaper. You're on your show. You are a leader. Chera is a leader. We do this show every week. We are leaders. Ms. Jacqueline comes on all of our shows every week. She is a leader. And I think that a lot of times we have to start stepping away from waiting for other people to make a move.
Mm-hmm.
I hire people every day. Chera, you know what I do. Reggie, you know what I do. I have young Black men in my office every day, and they come in there and they think that just because I've invited them into an interview that they're going to get the job. And that's not true. Because they see this Black face and they think I'm going to do them a favor. My favor to them is to get it right. Don't come in here with no driving history that looks like somebody threw up on it with none but tickets and violations and suspensions. I'm going to tell you, my little brother, how you going to get yourself right. I am a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lead you in the direction that you need to be in for success. We have to stop looking at everybody else and say, well, where are they? Hell, you're looking at you. Go look in the mirror, go in the bathroom, turn the light on, and there you are. There's your leader.
Yep.
But we still need that national voice to bring us all together, because we find
You
some
can do
tough
that.
odds. Yeah. We find some tough odds with that knucklehead up in the office right now. Okay, so we need that one strong voice that's not afraid of losing anything to come out and say, okay, all communities, let's come together and go attack Washington. Okay, that's what we need. Okay, and like I said, Reverend Barber, he's out there, but he can't do it all by himself. You know, he needs strong support to get more done than what he's getting done. He's the conscience of
Yeah.
Black America right now. Okay,
Mhm.
so we need that. We need the voice on the national level to come, be able to take the state, the local people, and bring them together to make effective change. And that's what we need. We need effective change to push back on Washington. Okay, and we got to. If
But
we don't,
who says that Reggie Kearney can't be that one?
I'm getting too old for it. I need them young boys to jump up.
Ah, come
You know,
on.
Tony, to add to what you said earlier, you don't need to be a leader to lead. And if more people in our community, at large, in the country, for example, start leading by example in their own lives, then perhaps from that will be born the voice and the leadership you're looking for, because we'll all be stronger in our own voice and maybe have a little more backbone to take that ultimate leadership role.
Mhm.
But we are responsible for ourselves and our lives and need to lead our lives. No one's going to fix our problems and our personal decisions. We need to be the
Right.
leaders in our own lives, make the right
You have to.
decisions. Yeah.
And then you can collectively come together and you can devise a plan as to what needs to be done and what has to take place within your community. And that community then takes it on to a state or local level. And then that moves into a level of the federal government and take it to a national level. So we have to start looking at ourselves. Because if we keep depending on the Al Sharptons, Big Perm, to do for us, hell, we might as well lay down and die. Because Big Perm ain't talking about nothing but his salary.
But if
Just tell
we
him.
rely on one leader, if that leader fails, everything else dissipates, which is why we need to be stronger ourselves.
But that's what we were doing
Right,
And
but
that's where we gotta
everybody
think.
everyone following
Yeah.
Martin Luther King was a
Right,
leader.
but what happened was when Dr. King died, it was a power struggle to who was going to be the leader. And so what happened, everybody started doing, Jackson was doing his thing, everybody was doing their own thing, starting their own organizations and stuff,
Yeah.
which was probably good in the sense that, you know, they had a number of organizations out there. So, but that's basically what happened, you know.
Well, I mean, look, the CIA had a little something to do with a lot of that. Destabilizing the foundation so that they couldn't get their land rights
I'm not going to
again.
buy into that. We destabilized ourselves, okay? For so long,
Our behaviors.
the respect was given to Dr. King because he was the one that put his self on the line every day, okay? So nobody was going to buck what he wanted to do, okay? But when that power vacuum came about, everyone wanted to step into his shoes, but no one was getting the overwhelming majority support. So they went out and did their own thing, okay? And that's why we had so many splinter groups. If they had remained focused and said, look, Jesse, you the youngest one, why don't you continue this march? We're going to back you. I think we would have been more effective. But when he went out with Operation Push, somebody went out with SCLC, somebody went out with this other group, that caused a power vacuum because we were pulling from the same people. We were trying
But
to
the
get the
unfortunate part is that those organizations, although created separately, they did not understand that without unifying, that they would fall apart. Because everybody had this dream of being the leader.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on today. That's still going on today.
They ain't got no dream today.
Well, I think that we do have the dream. I just don't think that we have the patience to stick it out. Because soon as the next big thing comes on or along, then whatever you were working on or whatever anybody was working on, then it's pushed to the side. So I think that people have not, they lose sight by the next thing. That's what they're doing.
Let me say this before we close, and this is a prime example of what's going on.
It's 6:30.
Okay, look, this ain't gonna take long. This take about another hour. But look, If you look at BET and you look at TV1, I love the old shows, but I'm tired of looking at the same old show over and over every day. I can tell you everything's gonna happen on Good Times from the first time, from when it first comes on to the end. Okay, our TV stations are black-owned television stations. Networks are letting us down because they're not coming up with perfect, good programming. Why in the heck is Roland Martin off of TV?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, somebody got into Kathy Hughes' ear because she's got a number of whites on her board and said, look, if you don't get rolling off there talking about Jews and what Jews undone and everybody else undone, you're not going to have a station. Okay? We need him on TV now more than ever. As soon as everything started getting hot with our 45, Roland was gone. Just the kind of stuff that's killing us in the black community, okay? Blacks too afraid to stand up for what they believe in and support the program that they need to support.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to propose this.
Uh-oh.
I can be that next. I can be that next Kathy Hughes because I ain't no sellout.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit who's on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be that next one.
Yeah.
Y'all see me through. Whoever's listening,
we will
see me through because I'll be that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because one day she's going to go away. Somebody's got to do it. And I'm not afraid to speak truth. I will speak it. I will cuss it. I will write it down and I'll send it to you by carrier pigeon if I have to.
That's right.
I ain't going to be no sellout.
Okay. We listen to, I tape that too, okay? So we got you on tape, okay?
It's already recorded.
That's all right. Say that closer to the mic.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm trying to get your banner put up while I'm doing this. I hope I don't start lagging while I do it. You know how my stuff runs over here. So, Chera, last thought.
There's so much to do. That's all. We just need to get off our asses and do it. It's real simple.
That's it?
Pretty much. Like I said, it's simple. You know, one step at a time, one day at a time. Don't be overwhelmed by the sheer size of the problem that we have. If we take one step at a time, go to school, finish school, get your degree, do the right thing, save your money. I mean, literally, it's just one step at a time. That's how people can lead by example in their own lives and positively influence the youth around them, God willing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hold these churches accountable. Dagnabbit.
Hey, that's what I say. That's what I say. I think that's the tarnish of the dream. Reggie Kearney, last thought.
Prayer need to come on out, but no, seriously, we need to. I know Cheryl Ann wants to give it one day at a time because she's a little younger. I'm a little older. We gotta take it. We gotta get it locked.
We gotta do this shit now. Let's get this shit together tomorrow.
Starting now is one day.
We don't even have tomorrow.
And then
we don't even have tomorrow. We got to do it now. We're in a state of emergency in the black community right now. Okay, because with what's going on with Orange here, we're in a state of emergency, and we got to really start making some inroads and knocking on some doors. And if we got to, I'm gonna tell you something. It's gonna be another long, hot summer one this summer, and it's gonna wake America up again. Okay, it's coming. Okay. It might be this summer, but I guarantee you by next summer, if all these killings keep on with the police officers killing unarmed black men, it's going to be a hard summer in these cities, okay? Towns around the country, okay? It's coming.
I agree. All right, so we about ready to get out of here, or we are ready to get out of here. I just want to say thank you to Chera and to Reggie for allowing me to sit in. I've really enjoyed tonight's topic because it is near and dear to my heart. Of how we need to do better. We need to do better as a people. And I'm not just always talking about black folk. We need to do better as people. People. I'm going to leave it right there. I'll leave it right there. But I want you to come on back. Before I go there. The Real World News TV program, as well as the Hot Topics Talk Radio Network, is sponsored by Shades of Africa in 2 locations in the city of Corona and in Long Beach. Also sponsored by Urban Sentinel, our very own Mr. Reggie Kearney, as well as SPMG Media, Miss Gina Smith. And also we are thanking and welcoming our newest FES Protection Plan, Miss Stephanie Warren Jenkins. For more information regarding all of our sponsors, head on over to our website at hottopicstalkradio.com/sponsors. Also, make sure that you check out some of the other shows. We have all of our shows that have been recorded right on our website. So check them out. Check out all of the hosts. Find out more about them. And we also have resources in case you guys need something. We have resources that are there for you. Okay. So check out the Hot Topics Talk Radio website, and I'm sure you will not be disappointed. Come on back tomorrow night with me, Roland D, and Yvonne Baker. Oh my gosh, we've got one of those kind of shows lined up for you tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we are talking about the differences between women and men and how they view a relationship or what they want in a relationship. So that's going to be a really good show tomorrow
We're
night.
better.
And that
Just saying.
that show topic was actually brought to us by one of our viewers, Miss Robin Marie. So come on back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Central, and 11 o'clock on the East Coast with Hot Topics Talk Radio with me, Roland D, and Miss Yvonne Baker. Thanks a lot for joining in tonight and sitting in with Reggie Kearney and Chair and Tappan tonight on Real World News TV. You can make sure to follow them on Facebook. And also come on back every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. It has been real. We are getting out of here, and we
Peace.
Thank you. We thank you.
Wakanda.
Wakanda forever. All right, you guys. It's been a blast. I love you both.
Bye.
Peace.
And thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.